Welcome to the Aerodrome Scale Models. Today I will be building Edwards BF-109E4 in the second installment of the Battle of Britain series. The base model is the weekend edition, and I've added the Resin Cockpit set and some aftermarket decals to create German ace Adolf Galland's personal machine he flew during the battle. These finely detailed rudder pedals were a nice upgrade. Some of the other photo etch parts I could have done without, as they are pretty small and can be hard to work with. Overall, I liked the extra details provided by the Resin Cockpit. However, I had some major fit issues that seriously delayed the build. Both Resin Cockpits for the Spitfire and the 109 had significant fit issues, which is frustrating considering the added expense of the aftermarket kit. I still like the idea of hyper-detailed resin kits for cockpits, but I may avoid them in the future. I primed the cockpit and sidewalls using Ammo MiG's one-shot flat black primer. Like its adversary, the Spitfire, the BF-109 began development in the mid to late 30s, with the first prototype taking flight in 1937. In contrast to the Spitfire, however, the 109 would see combat before the Battle of Britain and be farther along in its development as a fighter plane. The B model of the 109 participated in the Spanish Civil War, which allowed the Germans to learn many lessons about air combat and the 109 airframe. Most notably was its engine. The D model was the first to upgrade to the Daimler-Benz inverted V12, and a quick redesign improved the new engine to fuel injection for the E model, a decision that would give the Germans an advantage over the British Spitfires at the start of World War II. For the interior color, I decided to use Tamiya's German gray, which is too dark. In the future, I will use a lighter gray like I did on the fuselage. The 109 cockpit was known to be cramped and favored small pilots. Similar to early Spitfire models, pilots complained of headaches from hitting their head on the canopy. Despite the tight space, the 109 would be favored by many German aces throughout the war, even when better aircraft were available. I used an assortment of acrylics to pick out some details and added a panel line wash to provide some shading and contrast. I went heavy with the wash as it will be difficult to see in a completed build anyway. Using a weathering set, I added some dirt pigment to the floor where a pilot's boots would rest when not on the rudder pedals. The PE instrument panel did not fit at all. I would recommend tacking it in position once one sidewall is in place so you can move the second sidewall as needed. The final fit into the fuselage should not be affected. With the cockpit completed, it was time for the rest of the build. The single-piece gear bays were easy to install, and I had no issues joining the wings together or fixing them to the base of the fuselage. I wanted the leading edge wing slats to be retracted for my build, and the alignment tabs were not allowing me to do so. I carefully removed them with a knife and sanded them down. After this modification, I was able to achieve a nice fit. Looking at many historical photos, the only pictures of 109s I have seen with the slats out were crashed ones. Ultimately, it is your model, and you can build it how you want. But for me, basically all 109s parked on the ground should have the slats retracted, so displaying them extended may be a nice touch from the model companies, but is not accurate to the real-life aircraft. The E4 was a cutting-edge modern fighter when it was designed. An all-metal monoplane with a monocoque constructed fuselage and a single-spar wing with enclosed cockpit, retractable landing gear, and an engine producing over 1,000 horsepower. Most E4 models would be equipped with 4 machine guns, 2 in the nose and 2 in the wings, but some would also carry a 20mm cannon that fired through the nose spinner. The wings and fuselage fit together well. I did have to do some work to get the two parts to completely sit down in the correct position, but once joined, there was only little seams to correct. The flaps and ailerons fit easily onto the wings. The flaps are designed to be displayed in the down position, but with some improvisation they could be modified into an up or retracted position. The rest of the nose and cowling area were omitted from the build video as it required extensive modification to fit the remaining pieces together. I had to cut out the firewall completely, basically everything forward of the instrument panel to get the nose to conform to the correct shape. After the nose modifications and a little bit of seam work, I was ready to start on painting. I primed the model with Mr. Hobby Surfacer 1000 Gray. Next, I painted the fuselage, tail surfaces, and undersides of the wing with Mr. Color 115 or RLM 65 Light Blue. Aircraft design often is a trade-off of competing elements. In an effort to gain speed, the 109 featured a rather small tail, which, while offering more speed through less drag, did result in less maneuverability. During the Battle of Britain, this created a tactical problem, as German high command insisted the fighters stay close to the bombers they were escorting, which mostly negated the 109's primary advantage. Using speed to execute hit-and-run tactics to break up groups of British fighters before they could attack the bomber stream best suited the 109s, a strategy the Americans would use against the Germans with great success later in the war while escorting the B-17 and B-24. Engaging in snarling, tight-quartered turning dogfights against nimble Spitfires was never going to be successful long-term. Once the light blue was laid down, I painted the wings and spine of the fuselage in Tamiya's RLM Gray, which was a good match for the real-life color. When Germany invaded Poland in September of 1939, the Luftwaffe was equipped with the 109E1. By spring of 1940, the E3 model was the main variant in service, and by August the E4 began to see action. I masked the model before airbrushing Tamiya's black-green. I feel this is another great and accurate historical color match. Ultimately, the Battle of Britain would be a decisive defeat for the Luftwaffe, and perhaps the first link in the chain of their defeat. While the Germans did employ more modern tactics such as loose formation flying at the start of the battle, the RAF would adjust and learn, and later tactical mistakes would cause problems for the Germans. The 109 generally gave as good as it got against the British, but the German Air Force had been built around the combined arms doctrine to support ground forces and was not a strategic bomber force. Overall, despite the good design and flying characteristics of the 109 and the skill and bravery of her pilots, the Germans were fighting a battle they could never win. I used AK Interactive RLM02 for the nose and rudder, and I was pretty disappointed. The paint was very thin and hard to control. For the modeling, I used very low air pressure with a 0.2mm nozzle. Initially, I liked it, but once all the weathering was completed, it did not look as good. The livery is that of German ace Adolf Galland. In dogfighting years, he was an old man during the Battle of Britain, already 28. He would get his first 2 kills in May of 1940 against British Hawker Hurricanes. By the time the main portion of the battle ended in late August, Galland would have approximately 42 victories, and he would end the year with 57 kills, good enough to be the top ace of the war at the time. Galland flew, fought, and rose in command in equal measure. He rather famously asked for a squadron of Spitfires from German High Command, although later saying he was legitimately interested in seeing what the Spitfire could do himself, but he meant it as a joke. His superiors were not laughing. I gloss-coated the model and applied my panel line wash first, just as an idea to get the panel line all the way to the edges of the decal for a more realistic look. Next, I added the transfers in my standard pattern of microset and sol or mark finish strong for the bigger ones. As these were the older Edward decals, they just worked easily without extra steps. Galland would survive the war with 104 victories, all on the Western Front. He would fly the 109 Focke-Wulf, and at the end of the war, the jet-powered Me-262. He became popular among the Allies after the war and started friendships with many of his former enemies. His autobiography, The First and the Last, was a worldwide bestseller. Given the fact that Galland spent the entire war flying on the Western Front and his success in 3 different types of aircraft along with his notable command skills, it is no stretch to say Galland was one of, if not the best, German pilot of World War II. For chipping, I used a sponge and small paint brushes with some aluminum-colored paint. I tried to add chipping in heavy traffic areas and panel edges. I used burnt umber mixed with black oils to do some weathering. I have not used oils much, and I struggled a bit here, but I am learning. I airbrushed Tamiya smoke for the exhaust staining, which based on reference photos ran along the wing root and fuselage base. With the weathering complete, I assembled the final bits of the build. I mounted the landing gears with 5-minute epoxy for extra strength. Thanks for watching this build video. As always, like and subscribe so you don't miss new content. For full written articles, check out the aerodrome scale models on Blogger and follow my Instagram account for the most up-to-date build pictures.